Hello, Pat Winter here. Today I would like to share my first design team project for Losmimisarmoire. Sylvia had asked me to be on the design team last month, and I excitedly accepted because I love her designs in her Etsy shop, and if I lived in Switzerland, I would frequent her brick and mortar store often. It's absolutely beautiful. You have to go to her website, and she's on Instagram, and she has an Etsy shop, and she does videos on YouTube. So if you love vintage images and just beautiful items for your home and personal use, then I would suggest you check out Losmimisarmoire. And this is my first project, and it is, of course, for January 2024. And I am working with her digitals called, or labeled, or titled Dolls. And I wanted to do a rag book, and I wanted to do a sewing kit, like a slow stitch kit. So I just combined the two with her digitals and created this book. And I used a lot of vintage laces. So this is one of the images in the dolls kit, and it's a little girl just surrounded by her dolls. And the vintage, was a sleeve from a little vintage dress, and this is a little doll or a little girl charm vintage button, and I did a little bit of silk ribbon embroidery, some roses and rosebuds. And this is a little different. It's my own design, so it's kind of strange, but it serves the purpose. So the first page, you have this little organza ribbon tie, and it will hold your scissors. I just used just a little cutout vintage pair of scissors, and you just put them in there and tie them, and it keeps it nice and safe. They won't slip out in your needle book or your slow stitch book. And this is a needle sharpener, which I filled. This is one of her images in the dolls kit, and I filled it with crushed walnut shells, so it does sharpen your needles. And I made a few of these little stick pins. And then you open this, and this is like a platform where you would do your work. This has wool underneath, and it is a pin cushion. And this is a needle keep. It's magnetic, so you can have several needles threaded with different colored threads and different types of threads for your needlework, and they will safely stay there with the magnet. And you turn this page, and there's a little pocket from an old dresser scarf that used to be in my home growing up. My mother used to have me collect all the scarves, and I distinctly remember this scarf in particular because I was amazed at all the embroidery. It was like an oval. It was a pretty scarf in its day. So anyway, I'm using it now in my journals. So I tucked a little brooch, a little Susan Clark brooch in here of a little girl, and it's surrounded with little pearls. That could be used in a slow stitch kit or a junk journal or something. This is one of her images of a little girl having tea with her dolls. I love that little image. And in this pocket, I just added a couple of cards with some metal charms, like a little bunny, leaf, a dragonfly, a little heart, key, and so on. And then some vintage mother of pearl buttons. And then you open the entire book. Make sure it fits on here. And you have, I've pinned several sheer fabrics and laces. This lace is really old. I love that lace. For slow stitch projects, you could just use bits and pieces or whatever you want. And under that, I Velcroed a couple of little button cards that I added some Susan Clark buttons, little sew-on buttons to. And they just Velcro there. The buttons could be changed out. If you use these, you just can add some different shank buttons. And on this, in this pocket, we have these two little girls playing in their bed with their dolls, which they probably have just woken up from a nap. And I tucked in a wool needle holder. And there's a variety of needles. You have the long-eyed wide needle, which is for silk ribbon embroidery, because you don't want to, you want to make a nice hole in your fabric so when you're pulling your silk ribbon through, it doesn't run and catch, because it's, even though silk is very strong, it easily catches, and then it's a very unattractive sewing project. So then you cover that back up and then turn the page. And then you have a little pin cushion, again with my mother's dresser scarf, and this pretty little girl with holding her doll. And then this back page, I put a vintage piece of lace, and I added two skeins, two skeins of Edmar rayon threads for slow stitch work. And that just tucks in there. And then I added several bottles of glass beads in greens and pinks, and also a couple little bottles of sequins, tiny little sequins to use in your slow stitch kit. And these are some of my favorite sequins. Let's see if I can get them out. They're like a little cat eye sequin, and they're abs, so they're very shiny and sparkly, but they're shaped in a very delicate little design. I always imagined these would be perfect for like a Barbie flapper dress. Of course, who's going to sit there and sew on all of these sequins? But anyway, I'll put those back. And then you have a final picture on the back of this sweet little girl in a Victorian environment, probably sitting in a parlor with her little doll, possibly reading to her. And again, I used a lot of vintage laces. And that is my needlebook, my rag needlebook. And I hope you enjoyed it. And once again, thank you so much, Sylvia, for inviting me to be a design team member. I certainly appreciate it and look forward to working with many more of your beautiful digitals. Thank you, and bye-bye.